Hi guys, and welcome to my tutorial. So for this project I will be using two different colored yarns, a brownish beigeish color for the base and this pinkish color for the topping. With that I will be using my 5mm crochet hook. We're going to need some needles, we're going to need some stuffing, and we're going to need all these different colors for the sprinkles as well. You can actually begin with any color, but I'm going to start with the base. Both pieces are exactly the same, except the topping has another layer for the dripping effect, but generally they're both the same. So yeah, I'm going to begin with this beigeish brown color. So to begin with, we are going to do a slip knot and then we are going to chain 30. We are then going to form a ring with a chain 30. This is the center part of our donut. So just to make sure that our ring doesn't turn or twist, what I like to do is 5 chains, take your crochet hook out, insert it into the back of the first, and then go back into the working loop. This will ensure that our foundation chains are straight and they don't turn and twist. So continue making your chains until you reach 30 and I'll meet you back here. So to form a ring, just put your crochet hook into the first stitch and do a slip stitch. And there you're done. So for round 1, we are going to do an increase and then 4 single crochets. Make sure you actually work in that first chain. It can be hard to see. It's the one you actually slip stitched in. So make sure you do your first increase in there. So you're going to do your increase and then you're going to do your 4 single crochets. Once you've done your increase as well, as with my previous tutorials, I always put in a marker into the first stitch of that first set we've done. So after doing your increase, which is basically 2 single crochets in one stitch, you are then going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches and just continue that way throughout this round. And by the end of this round, you should have 36 stitches. So an increase, 4 single crochets, an increase, 4 single crochets, like that. So guys, I'll meet you at the end of this round. So I've worked my way round and I'm coming to the end of this round. So I've just done my last set of increases and I have 4 single crochets left to work into. This means I'm on the right track. You should always end up with the same number of single crochets that you've done in between your increases. So for round 2, we are going to do an increase and then 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches, an increase and then 2 single crochets, an increase and 2 single crochets all the way round. Don't forget to attach your stitch marker, and by the end of this round, you should have 48 single crochets. So do count and recheck. Okay, so simply an increase and 2 single crochets, an increase and 2 single crochets. Okay, so that's 2 single crochets and then my increase and then 2 single crochets and then an increase and just work that way all around, and I'll meet you nearer to the end. So I'm approaching the end and I should have my 2 single crochets to work into. Yep, I'm absolutely on the right track. Altogether, you will have 48 single crochets around. So for round 3, we are going to do an increase and then 5 single crochets, an increase and then 5 single crochets all the way round. Do not forget to put your stitch marker in the first single crochet of the first set of increases that you do. This will be a good indicator to show you are on the right track. So simply do your 5 single crochets in between every increase. So that's my first, second, and third one, fourth one, and fifth one. And then I'm going to do my increase 1, 2 in the same stitch, and then just continue that way till you reach the end of this round. So 5 single crochets and your increase. I'll meet you towards the end. So I'm approaching the end, and at the end we should have 5 single crochets left before the stitch marker to work into. And if you do have your 5, congratulations, you are absolutely on the right track. So for the next 3 rounds, which are rounds 4, 5, and 6, you are simply just going to do 1 single crochet in the single crochets from the previous round. No need to increase. So 1 single crochet all around. Do this 3 times, and by the end of these 3 rounds, you should remain with 56 stitches. So I'll meet you after the 3 rounds, okay? So 1 single crochet in each stitch. The pattern for round 7 is an increase and then 6 single crochets, an increase and then 6 single crochets all the way around. So do your increase and put in your stitch marker into the first single crochet of that first set of increases, and then do your 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then do your increase. Okay, so continue that way all the way around, and I'll meet you towards the end. So I'm approaching the end, and I should have 6 single crochets left to work into. So let's work into those 6 remaining single crochets before the stitch marker, and this indicates we are definitely working well on the right track. For round 8, we are going to do our increase, and then we are going to do 7 single crochets. So an increase and then in between 7 single crochets. So let's first put in our stitch marker, very, very important. And then we can begin with our 7 single crochets after we do our increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our increase. Okay, so just work all the way around, and I'll meet you towards the end. So at the end, you should have 7 single crochets left before the stitch marker to work into. So let's count our 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the last one before the slip stitch, 7. Voila, we are on the right track. Good job. So for the next 3 rounds, which are rounds 9, 10, and 11, you are simply going to do 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. No need to increase, just simply single crochets all the way around. You're going to do this 3 times. Don't forget to continue using your stitch marker when you are beginning these rounds as well, even though there's no increase, but still put in your stitch marker. So I'll meet you after 3 rounds of single crochets, and you should still have 72 stitches by the end of these rounds. So for round 12, we are going to do an increase and then 8 single crochets, an increase and then 8 single crochets all the way around. So let's do our increase, and now let's do 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then time for an increase. And 1, 2 in the same space. Okay, so continue that way all the way around, 8 single crochets and your increase, and I'll meet you towards the end. So we should have 8 single crochets left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Let's begin round 13. So for round 13, we are going to do our increase and then 9 single crochets in between the increases. So here I'm doing the increase and I'm attaching my stitch marker, and now let's do 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then our increase. And just work this way all the way around, and I'll meet you towards the end. So here I'm coming towards the end of round 13. So I've just done my increase and I'm going to do 9 single crochets. We should have 9 single crochets left. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. By the end of this round, you should have 88 single crochets. So for the next 3 rounds, round 14, 15, and 16, we are simply going to do single crochets all the way around, 88 of them. So by the time you have finished with round 16, you should have 88 single crochets. Just normal single crochets, no increases. So let's meet once we've done our 3 rounds of single crochets. So for our next round, we are going to do an increase and then 10 single crochets. So this is round 17. You would have just finished your 3 rounds of single crochets. Now we are doing an increase. So round 17, 10 single crochets in between your increases. So let's do our increase. Put in your stitch marker and let's count 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now time for our increase. So 1 and 2 in the same space. Okay, so just continue all that way and I'll meet you towards the end. So let's see if we have our 10 single crochets left. So we've done an increase and let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. So let's go to round 18, and for round 18 we are going to do our increase, and then we are going to do 11 single crochets. Okay, so I've just put in my stitch marker, done my increase, so 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and time for our increase. Okay, so just work that way all the way around, and I'll meet you nearer to the end. At the end, let's count our 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfecto. The next 3 rounds, round 19, 20, and 21, are just single crochets all the way around. No need to increase. So after you've done round 21 and you have 104 stitches, you can fasten off because we have finished our base. After you have fastened off, you are now going to make the same piece in the topping color. So follow the exact same pattern, but this time round in your topping color. The only difference is that in your topping color, we are going to add some sprinkles, and also we are going to add an extra layer for the dripping effect. But for now, I want you to proceed and duplicate the base piece you've just done with your topping color. So let me show you how I did the sprinkles. So for the sprinkles, I went for really bright colors because I wanted them to show through. So I didn't go for yellows and whites because they were definitely not contrasting well. So I went for bright pinks and purples and a nice green, as you can see. This method of doing the sprinkles is time saving because I've actually seen other YouTube videos where they do each sprinkle individually, but who's got time for that? So this is a time saving way of doing the sprinkles, but it can get a bit messy. So you'll have to make sure that all the sprinkles are lying flat, and on the back side, nothing is crisscrossing, especially through the middle. So thread a long piece of yarn in the color that you've chosen for your sprinkles. In my case, I'm using this bright maroonish color. It will definitely stand out. So insert your needle from the back and begin doing your sprinkles. You should leave a long tail and we will tie these together at the end. But for now, you're making your sprinkles and I'm using a width of about 3 single crochets. So that is the length or the width of my sprinkles. So you can just try and make them as uniform as possible. After you're done with your sprinkles, just go to the back and tie all the ends together in order to secure the sprinkles. Make sure there's no crisscrossing happening and make sure all the sprinkles are lying flat. So now I'm going to show you how to do the drip that goes around the topping part of the donut. So attach your yarn by going into any of the single crochet spaces, and you can do this by doing a chain and then in that same space do a slip stitch. In the next space you are then going to do a single crochet. In the next space you are going to do a half double crochet, and then in the next a double crochet, and then in the next a treble, and then another treble. So treble is yarn over hook twice. Okay, and after you've done your treble, you're going to do a double crochet, and then a half double crochet, and then a single crochet, and finally you're going to end with a slip stitch. So here are the instructions for the drip, and I will demonstrate it once more. So we are going to do a slip stitch and then a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then a double crochet, then a treble, then another treble, and then a double crochet, then a half double crochet, followed by a single crochet, and then finally a slip stitch. So go all the way around doing the same pattern and I will meet you towards the end. So I didn't end up with the right amount of stitches here, but it doesn't really matter. No one's really going to be able to tell. So just make do with what you have and do your drip with the stitches that are remaining. So we can finally fasten off, and that is the end of our topping and our base. So you're going to put your base with the wrong side facing up and your topping with the right side facing up as in the video. So we are going to bring the middles together and then we are going to sew. You can, if you want, use pins to assist you. It just makes the sewing much more easier. Just sew both pieces together. After you have finished sewing those centers together, you can just fasten off and hide any stragglers. So it's definitely coming into shape and looking so beautiful. So the last thing to do now is sew the ends together, the topping end and the base end together. So we need to place our topping so it sits well on the base. So just shape it as I'm doing, and I will show you exactly how to sew as well. So you are going to align the topping, the round before we did the drip. So that round is what you're going to align with the base. So I've used pins to assist me with this. So just makes sewing much more easier. It can be a bit fiddly at first, but just make sure that the lowest part of the drip where we did the slip stitches are aligned with the base. And then you can just sort of spread the drip around and work on it that way. So continue stitching, but then leave some space so that we can put in our stuffing. So we are definitely going to need quite a bit of stuffing. So begin by taking little bits and inserting them into the donut, into the back area, because that's going to be a hard to reach area. So make sure that area is nicely stuffed, and then move on to the sides and then to the front. Remember, the front, we can continue sort of stuffing it as we go along, but make sure that the back is nicely stuffed. You want it to be pretty firm. So then continue sewing and stuffing as necessary. You want to fill up the front part as well. So make sure it's stuffed well in the front too. And yeah, just continue sewing. And yeah, and that's your donut nearly done. Finally, just fasten off, cut off the thread, and that's your donut done. Shape it gently and enjoy. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much.